Hi Lincoln Trail. This video is to help you to get caught up for virtual art class if you were unable to attend your live meeting between September 8th and September 11th. So to review real quick, last week when we met live, we talked about the schedule for September. Today we are in week 2, which means today's instruction is going to include a tip or a technique that could be included in your project. We also took a look at your choice board. Now, depending on what grade you are in, your choice boards might look different. So you will have to pay attention to the different ways that you could be making art this month. And we also talked about how you can brainstorm ideas. So today, as we get started, we are going to be looking at the technique of stippling, and we will talk about then how you could use that in your project. This is not a requirement here in September, but it is a possibility, hopefully a way for you to learn and grow as an artist. Pointillism is a technique of painting in which small, distinct dots of colors are applied in patterns to form an image. Now, in your exit ticket this week, I'm going to be asking you what is the artist's name who's typically given credit for inventing pointillism. Georges Seurat is the answer that you're going to need to know for that artist or for that exit ticket. So as we look at this example of art, you're going to see a lot of dots of color there used together. If you kind of squint your eyes at them, though, you're going to be able to better see how those colored dots interact with each other to make new colors or different values. Here we have some more artwork by Georges Seurat. This piece here is actually located in the Art Institute, which is an art museum up in Chicago. So if you're ever up that way, you should definitely check it out. The painting is around 6 feet tall by 8 feet wide. So the woman here in the foreground or the front of the painting is pretty much life-size. So that's pretty impressive to know how large that painting is and that it's made completely out of dots. Now, Ben-Day dots are another way that you can use circles in art. It's a commercial printing technique that uses small dots of color. It's named after the 19th century illustrator and printer whose name was Benjamin Henry Day. Ben-Day dots were used in color comic books in the 1950s and 60s to create effects of shading and to make the secondary colors inexpensively. So if you're printing a comic book and you have red and yellow ink that you're paying for, but you also need orange ink, that orange ink is going to cost more money to have that printed. So instead, we take the red ink and the yellow ink that we're already paying for and layer those colors together to create the illusion of orange. Here we have some artwork by an artist whose name is Roy Lichtenstein. He's a famous pop artist, and he uses Ben-Day dots a lot in his work. So he'll use new colors or make new colors because he uses the primary colors alone. And then he creates different values of colors as well. So the blue that is solid looks dark compared to this cloud of blue because the cloud uses blue Ben-Day dots, which also then has a white background, to give you that illusion of a lighter value. Now the last page here on our screen is the finished examples of what I'm going to show you here next. So on this top slide, you'll see that there is a link that's going to take you to a video where I'm talking about stippling. Now, stippling is done or could be done with a lot of different media. I feel like markers are an excellent stippling tool because they have a nice broad tip and are going to give you a nice consistent sized dot as you use them. Something like colored pencils does not work as well just because they have such a fine point. It would take a lot of dots, working with colored pencils, to fill, your artwork. Chalk pastels, oil pastels, and watercolor paint here all really mix well, even though the colors aren't mixing together. They layer well to make those new colors. So you can really see them there, in that last column. Now the next part of the video is me just taking some materials and some random things I have around my house and kind of experimenting. So I have this piece of plastic ribbon here that I'm using with chalk pastels to make some circles. I also had some bubble wrap that I'm using markers to make some bubble wrap printing, which to me printing is super fun. I'm also using a plastic water bottle cap here to print as well. So markers are a great tool that you can use that you may already have to do some printing. I also am kind of experimenting with crayon and watercolor paint together because the crayon will block, the paint from soaking into your paper, which can give you an interesting effect. Again, towards the end here, I'm going to be using markers to kind of stipple in some of that extra space. So something like this could become your project where you are experimenting with things that you find around your house, or you could just do this for fun. I'm not requiring, something separate than your project this month. So this would just, again, be an opportunity for you to explore materials and, work with some things in maybe a different way. So if you want to check that video out, the link is there. I also have the images here posted that you can take a closer look at working with crayons, markers, colored pencils, chalk pastels, oil pastels, and watercolor paint. I then also have that image that has the experimentation that I did as well. So do not forget your exit ticket for the week. That will help count for your participation in class. Also gives you, your instruction. Do not forget that George Seurat is the name of the artist who is known for inventing pointillism, and that's part of that exit ticket. This week you want to be starting your project as well. So gather up those supplies. Hopefully you've got an idea already started that you can get started. Now next week when we meet for week 3 during the month of September, it is a work day. So this is time that you can show me your progress, you can ask me questions, you can get feedback. So Lincoln Trail, I look forward next week to seeing what you have started, to kind of getting a feel for what everybody's doing, and to answer any questions that you may have. Have a great week.